Hello guys and welcome to another video. Before we get started with it, I want to say the next. I am not a financial planner nor a financial advisor. I am not FCA approved. I'm not approved by any institution that allows me to give financial nor investment advices. Nothing mentioned in this video should be considered investment advice or guidance. Everything shown, talked, and explained is for pure and only educational purposes. The risk is on your own hands. Enjoy. Hello everyone, good morning, welcome to another video. Today is Tuesday, November 2nd. I'm going to be recording today's session, seeing if anything good comes out of it to basically show how I trade and see if I can help anyone with this. Okay, we'll begin as always drawing the 15 and 5 in the areas. I'm seeing this right now. Let me actually change it to this. So we had an area of supply here, right? That causes a reaction but then fails to hold. And the range that happened there, how does it not show up in the 1 hour? Oh, no, 15 months. Okay, I don't know how it doesn't show up in the 1 hour, but okay. We'll draw it like this. Oh, but it was broken. Oh, that sucks. We'll leave it anyways. But basically this range is the cause to this major supply area of break, right? So the fact that it's causing a reaction is not surprising at all. We'll have this just in the case price decides to break anything down there, such as this. Draw it like that. And we'll check the 5 now. So in the 5 we want to refine down stuff. There's likely a 1 minute order block here that looks really good in that wick, as it looks like a pretty good retracement before the major push down. This might confirm high and this might confirm low, so anything within this is not of much importance, but we will draw this as an example. Okay. So I don't want to say we're bullish, I don't want to say we're bearish, because we were pushing higher and the order flow that we had was basically this, but then it was broken, the low was broken, and it was actually a flip. So this right here, this order block that causes that is going to be of pretty big importance. Flip below, let's call it major break, so we have it there. So yeah, whenever price reaches this area, we might have a good reaction, or we can go for the extreme, taking that as inducement, right? 1 minute, beautiful, beautiful 1 minute. So we tapped an area of demand, we broke it by a tick or a pip. I don't think so. I don't think it was too much to really consider it much of importance. We broke. We tapped supply right here. Couple of times, failed to hold, and the cause was basically this extreme range that price has managed to respect. And we can now go for the continuation trade, which will be here. So based on the 5 minute, we can't really trade this because we're everything confirmed structure, right? But based on the 1 minute, that's different. Okay, so the thing is that price pulled away a lot for me to take the CE. So right now I'm not really interested on it. But I'll leave it drawn to remember, and we'll put a black candle, not candle, flag here. Alright. Let's see what else. We reached this high, which to the left had nothing, literally nothing. We caused a flip by breaking this low. The cause was this, and that was respected, so actually looks really clean. That looks very clean. So a reaction there wouldn't surprise me at all. So this already could be a risk entry, confirmation entry, and it is pro trend, and we have breaking this demand stuff that we had back there. But I just don't like taking risk because this, even though it's a CE, I don't like taking them when they have pulled away a lot, and they've basically created a lot of new structure, right? I could take it. It's not that I don't think it's a CE, but I just don't like the risk on it. That's the problem for now. If price were to create liquidity or something like that just below it, which is kind of happening, but it's a little bit far, to be fair. So right now I'm not really interested in that liquidity. I prefer liquidity a tiny bit closer. That's okay. So, I'm gonna see that I'm not missing out on anything. Let's draw it like this, right here. So very oriented to the server of supply. This might confirm low, confirm high, ranged a little, causes a break, confirm low, confirm high, respects the extreme. As you can see, we have the break of some major structure. We could say that at this point we would have caused a flip, and we did cause a flip because we did have a flip back here, right? That's a flip to the downside, because you see this candle up reacts to whatever demand it's left in here, right? Then breaks that low, the low of the whole weird structure that we have here, and the cause was this, right? And price later came back into this and reacted to it, but then failed to hold. So that's again a flip. Sometimes, as an example, you can have flip up, flip down, flip up, flip down. Like as an example, maybe here we could have had a flip, right? And I just don't draw them. As an example, this one is unnecessary to have it. This one at this point is as well unnecessary. But sometimes it does help to have them to basically have it to know it visually, right? But sometimes you do know that maybe a flip happened within this retracement, right? But you don't care anymore because that break happened, and you know that the flip that happened here, which is a small retracement, to then get to this to continue to go higher then, right? So yeah, it's the same as this one. Even though there is a flip, I don't really care because the trend is still going, right? This order flow that we have here has not stopped. Okay. There's nothing much to do right now, to be fair. Respected the last candle, didn't it? Yeah. Oops. So we're getting basically into the POI. So I like the POI because it caused that flip on the 5-minute. We could say that no, this is actually the flip. Yeah. So all of this move, as you can see, doesn't react to any kind of demand that we have to the left, right? It does break, as an example, in here we have an area of demand, right, that caused the reaction, but then broke the next high, meaning that it created new demand, which price didn't react to, not in the 5-minute. So what I see is that it pushed down strongly. It did break a lot of demand, but without causing reaction. Then price reacted something on the pretty much extreme, maybe the range, maybe a 1-minute candle somewhere in here. Doesn't really matter. Fact is that 5-minute reacted to something, but then failed to hold, and the cause to that was this, right? So that's already a pretty good reason, or pretty good confidence, or pretty good evidence to think that this area could cause somewhat of a reaction in the future. And the fact that in the 1-minute that we had a flip, right? We reacted to this demand, but then failed to hold, right? And price came back up and reacted to that, and then reacted strongly to the downside. That already is another pretty good confidence, right? So taking this CE could definitely be worth. It's just not something that I'm willing to take for now, right? I actually didn't open the MetaTrader. Oh, I opened TradingView again. Shit. Will it open though? Because it's already open. Oh, it didn't. That's fine, I suppose. So yeah, I was gonna say that I did like that risk entry happening there. Doesn't look like it's gonna happen. This area could cause something. I really hate MetaTrader sounds. Honestly, it's just disgusting. Let me actually um, change that because it's just disgusting, honestly. Okay. So, reacting to that risk entry, not that I would go for that CE unless the risk entry actually caused the break of this supply, right? Because going for a risk entry as an example here will be really stupid because price is already reacting to SPY, which in my opinion is very strong at the moment. So yeah, it's all about waiting right now. There's not much else that we can really do. RE, CE. Call it 15 and going for this basically. Oh, that's the 1 minute candle that I was talking about. Doesn't look as good as I expected, but I do see this here that looks really good. So if price was to come back up to this, a reaction from there will be actually quite nice. So we'll keep that in mind. So the risk entry worked out so far. We're tapping that area already. For me to take this confirmation entry, we have to break the supply, right? And break this at the same time, because if we just go above it, well, respected this order block here, this supply there, it's not worth, right? Because it could still work out from that point, right? So I wanted to break that, and to not tap this area at the same time, because that will be basically my target being hit, right? So yeah, it doesn't mean that if price decided to do this, it just won't work, right? Because it could definitely work maybe up to here, or it just breaks it, right? Just that based on what I consider worth placing my risk or my capital on, it just does not enter there, you know. So we'll ignore that for now. What I do see here though is that we have caused a flip here, a supplier to fail there, so the bullish trend is pretty much rolling right now. And I think the best next entry to buy will be here on the 5 minute. And I was thinking taking something on the 50, just like that. But that will take this supply area where we're currently at to break. Right, because otherwise in the 5 minute we're rethinking from structures and it's just not something that we're looking for. Depending where price comes from, we either want to take a high or we want to go all the way up here. That's something that we'll decide in the moment. But this is something that I definitely want to consider. Not right now, right, because price is pretty far away, but that area, in my opinion, is really strong. We do have some liquidity here though. To remember. How much is this? 1.5 and 1.5 is 333. We'll just have it there, just in case. So we got different scenarios right now. If I don't want to take this already as a CE, right, this order block, then I'm gonna have to wait for anything to occur, right? That gives me this tiniest confidence. Sorry, not confidence, but confluence for me to go for this. So let's say price were to create something like this, a small low, and then it breaks it, then I'm definitely going for that, right? Otherwise, we will have to wait for something like this to occur, right? Going for this as a CE, which in that case would actually be a risk entry, but well, the area was broken, so never mind, I suppose. We have to break this high, as I said, for me to be confident enough about this trade. But well, I don't have 5R before that. Okay. 13 it is then. It's 13, okay. It's 9 plus 4, 13. Yeah. So 13 is a little bit more, 385. So we could definitely go ready for it. Problem with it's just that it didn't break that other high. Haven't placed a trade just yet. I will create the order and have it ready just in case. I checked the news and we don't really have any news today, so it's not something I'm worrying about for now. Take profit 16,076. Stop loss is 15,997. And entry is 16,010. Oh, for 385 was it? Forgot. 385. See, I don't like that. I mean, I like it because of the fact that why did this fuck up? I like it because I still think this it could definitely work out. I just don't like the risk that it implies, and maybe it's still respecting that supply back there, and it will continue to go lower, right? It is a CE though. Now we're too much counter trend. I'm not gonna take this. I'm gonna wait and see if we actually break that high, or otherwise I'll just cancel that order. Nah, it's gone for me. Fuck that. Okay. I'll place the order here. We'll see how that works out. So here's the deal, right? We did react to the 5-minute thing, right? Here. Oh, we actually didn't. Never mind that. So it actually didn't really cause much of a reaction, but this, if this would have been the reaction, then definitely something, considering this as the cause to the flip, to the flip in the 5-minute. But that actually wasn't, so this is just price going a tiny bit higher of the POI. So I wouldn't really count it as a demand break or anything, but this is looking really good. I mean, if I was to take a trade right now, it will be this. It's the only trade that I'm really interested on at the time. That other trade could definitely work out. It's just that I don't really like the risk that it has at the moment. It's definitely a CE, but I feel like I'm going counter trend, and that we're a little bit too high to be buying, because you see we had this impulse and immediate retracement, and now we have this impulse and the retracement is missing, right? I'm not saying selling, but I'm saying buying from somewhere else. But yeah. I think for now I'm gonna pause. I don't want to make the video too large for no reason, so I'll be pausing and I'll come back whenever any good shape pops up. So price finally got to the area, and I was actually thinking about taking it with the funded of the challenge, but it kind of beat me to it, and at the same time I didn't put much effort into going for it. To be fair. So let's see it play. The only reason why I like this is because it's a CE, and we did break that supply, right? My problem with the supply, as I said, is that it didn't break this, right? And I've seen trades a lot of times. Just let's say I had this entry, right? Entry here, stop loss here, and price goes a tiny bit higher, still respecting the previous POI, and then it continues to go down, right? So not saying this is the case. I'm not saying this isn't. I'm not saying this is nor that this isn't, but basically, I just didn't like the risk on it. So yeah, and if this was to fail, well, there wouldn't be that much for us to really do, honestly, because we would have to wait for a new risk entry to work for it to then for us to then basically look for that CE, right? Not sure if I would have been triggered here. Sorry, stop that. Supposedly not. Supposedly. But yeah, so as an example, right now I like this area better, but I'm already looking at lower areas. I prefer to go for the extreme, right? Which is this. So I'm actually gonna place the trade with this one. Gonna set a couple of alerts to remember that I actually have it at the same time, because I can forget about stuff like that. So 250, and where do we want to place it? 917, which is down here. And the stop loss will be 897, and target is all the way up there. Target is probably going to be changed. So it's a pretty large target otherwise. 16 to 74. Alright, we're risking 0.5, that's fine, and target is 8%, 8.9%. Not really what I'm looking for with target, but it's fine. Not sure what's happening here, but we did create liquidity, which looks good for the lower order block, right? But it looks like it's not going to hold. We'll see though. So did my broker break the high? As an example, my broker didn't actually break this high here, right? The high of the order block. And this one broke it by what? A tick? A tick and two, call it 2 ticks. So it's not really much of a break, but it can be considered a break for sure, you know. At this point, if I was inside of this trade, I will not be happy at all. I probably would have tagged that anyways already, but you know, just saying, it's not really a strong reaction, because the candle that went up then went down, and yeah, there we go. Okay, so we have the cost to a flip there, so that's a flip now. Flip below. To remember that we have liquidity there towards this area, not for us to take a risk entry or anything like that, but to just remember it. Well, yeah, I mean, at this point we really have nothing to do. As an example, one of the scenarios that we could see is this reacts to that, and we have this, and we go for this, right? So risk entry, confirmation entry, expecting this to happen. Other scenario will be price coming back up to this, causing a reaction that we can then go for, and trying to get all the way down to this, right? So we're just waiting for confirmation entries. That's all we're doing. I like this range / pause that we had there that price made. I like the extreme as well. Nothing to really take a risk entry on, but to wait for those confirmations. Which we'll see. If price was, as an example, to respect this already, like it's not really doing it right now, but basically if this was to happen, I can't really take a CE here, because this, in my opinion, is a pretty strong POI that could cause somewhat of a reaction. So I wait for this to be broken for me to actually be able to take that CE. Just not trying to go against POIs. Or anything like that. If I have a bullish POI, then I'm not going to try to sell. If I have a bearish POI, then I'm not going to try and sell, and buy, right? But of course, that can change if you, depending on, if, as an example, if you're in a 4-hour order block, which is refined down to the 15-minute, and you have a 1-minute supply that was just created, of course, the 4-hour order block will have more more importance than that, right? So yeah, just wanted to mention that sometimes, even though it's not really allowed by our rules, sometimes there are those gaps that we can take advantage of. Um, yeah, okay. So broke the high, so we couldn't even get a CE from that, a risk entry from that. So for now, I'm gonna pause again, come back in a few minutes, and we'll see what we got. Alright, so the low was broken. Did I? So the low was broken, alright? Well, not the low, sorry. That demand area that we had there was broken immediately. So as an example, right now I do feel kind of tempted to take something like this, but it's a risk entry and it's not something that I'm trading. So we're approaching this trade. We're coming down pretty strongly, and that's kind of scary, but I'm still gonna go for it. And the reason to that is because I don't really think that we come from a stronger area to consider this a bad area. So let me check the 5 again. And let me do this. Depending on how you look at it, we kind of didn't even break that high. So we're reacting to it, but we did. I'm gonna keep it. I'm gonna keep the entry. We'll see how it works out. But I just don't think that this is a stronger area than this one. It is pro trend, which is the only reason why I could be scared of it. But the thing is that we saw that it was broken, right? It is broken. And to the left, we're not really reacting too much. Kind of reacting to this whole mess of price action that we got. But I don't know, I just like this order flow that we have created, and in my opinion, should create at least one more higher high to maybe get up to this, or to continue with the current trend, right, and go all the way up to that POI that we have up there, which is what I am aiming to, and yeah. So we'll see, but for now, I don't want to change my entry. Simple as that. I would like it for it to create some liquidity or something like that before it. That will be a little bit more, little bit of more confidence is not really necessary, but will make me feel more confident about the trade. But if it doesn't, well, it's okay. So I'm going for the 50% of the 5-minute candle. We could go for this as the 1 minute, but it's higher risk to be missed out, right? I'm gonna go for that because well, wait, what is that? Oh yeah, we're gonna go for that for now because it's this conservative target. We could go for something like this as an example and be even more conservative, but I don't think we can really compare this extreme POI that comes from order flow against this, right? We'll see whatever happens when it actually reaches that, but yeah, for now that's pretty much it. Well, I think I'm gonna pause the video for now, and I do have the entry, don't I? Yeah. And I'll come back whenever I have anything to update you guys with. Alright, so I was downstairs and I got the alert, so I wanted to come up and see this. So the trade is working quite well for now. It's A plus 4, let's call it 12. So I'm just basically trailing my stop loss to not get a full loss in the case price actually decided to not work out. Sorry, I'm a little agitated. So now comes the parts the least experienced at, and it's basically managing a position. Supply number 1, and basically we have to see what occurs in each of these areas, and having such a large target basically means that we will have somewhat of a retracement at some point. Maybe it will be now, maybe it will be somewhere else in the future, but basically we can definitely see within the trade something like this occurring, right? Strong pullback and another strong pullback, and maybe even here. So we'll have to check targets and stuff. But which is something that I really don't like. I don't like having retracements or anything like that. So for today, I had actually set myself a target of a 3 or 4%. So that's something that we could aim for. As an example, 3% will be 120 ticks, which will be 16,038, somewhere around here, I think. 38. That could be our target, right? Which is basically a 1 to a 10. Why is it a 1 to a 10? 10 are 300 if I'm risking 0.5. Oh, no, never mind. My stop loss is different. Okay, yeah. So my stop loss, keep in mind, is basically here. So that's 6R, that's 3%. So I'm thinking about it, because I said if I get a 3% today, then that's great, right? I will be pretty happy with that. The problem is that I really don't think that any of those appliers should really cause any kind of reactions. So going for something like this shouldn't be of much harm, expecting no reactions until we actually get to that area, right? Call it 75, 74 apparently. So I think I'm going to go for that. I'm going to go conservative target in the case price decides to react to something in here. And I'm going to ignore all of this price action that, well, as I said, in my opinion, doesn't really hold that much strength. But it could definitely cause a deep pullback that will could scare me a lot. So for now, that's pretty much it. I'll set an alert here for going good. So whenever I have a trade running, I prefer to not be in the charts. So I have a lot of alerts to remember myself. Well, not to remember myself, but to notify me what's happening, you know? So my stop loss is no longer here, but 12 we said? Oh, 12 pips, but not 12 ticks, but not stop loss. 905 is my stop loss currently. So there. So yeah, that's for now. That's pretty much it. I'll be pausing, and I'll come back whenever I have any important updates about this trade. All right. So trade worked out very beautifully. Took over every single demand or supply that I was expecting it to take. I was not quite sure about the extreme, which is the reason why I ended up taking it. Did take profit at 3.2%. Was it at 3.2%? 3.17, but that's quite close. And yeah, pretty good trade, pretty happy with it, and pretty much was a 6.6 R, somewhere around there. So the R is an approximate, not really the exact point. So give me a second. All right. So I don't really remember if I explained why I was going for this, but basically what I see, let me actually do it in the markups chart so we can make it a tiny bit cleaner. What I saw there was an order flow being created, an area of demand that basically was kind of respected as the low was breaking by very little, and you're gonna say, well, a break of an area, whether it's small or big, should be considered a break, right? But and yes, it should be. But there are some cases that I think, well, it wasn't entirely respected. Maybe it respected this back here, maybe something that was left unmitigated. There could be always a reason why, but the thing is that knowing that a reaction happened somewhere in the past, not somewhere in the past. So this reaction that we have here has reacted to something we had in the past, right? So if this same reaction would have happened as an example here, where we literally have nothing to work with on the 5-minute, then that would have been different. But in this case, we either mitigate this and break it by very little, which could be still considered something usable, or we are still reacting to this, which maybe means that something was left unmitigated. Maybe this was used as liquidity at the same time. So basically, that's something, right? What do I see next? I see a push up, somewhat of a range. As you can see, we ranged first, push up, came back down, mitigated something. So that was already a risk entry, and our CE came out of this, right? So what I see as well, which was easier to be seen in the 1 minute, is this. We broke a high. We broke that high, which was the supply area that had caused the flip in the 5 minute, right? So that was already another pretty big confluence in our not in our direction, but basically towards our analysis, right? Okay. So we broke that. So keep in mind that at this point, this is where we were basically, and this is what I see. And I do definitely think that at that point, a retracement could occur, getting down all the way to this, to then continue to go higher, right? Now, we have two ways to do this, which is, well, I went the conservative, or we could have gone for the crazy, which would have been targeting this, right? Which would have been a pretty large target, which is still pretty much achievable, right? It might sort of been something like this, which would have been somewhere around 20R. Definitely possible. Yesterday's trade was 20R, close to 20R. Or the conservative way, which is basically this new area of supply that is created here, right? Now, this area of supply has caused nothing, right? If we check, it literally caused nothing as this low was respected. So this is my high, this is my low. It's literally nothing for us to really do about that area. It sure is an area of supply, right? And in the 1 minute we do have flips and everything, but in the 5 minute there's nothing that we can really do about that. Nothing we can we're really interested on, right? So why going for the extreme and maybe not any of the other areas? Which will be, as an example, we have this one, we got this CE, which I ignored, we have this area, we have the pause as a whole, and then we got the extreme. So for me, using order flow, right, knowing what order flow is, knowing what high highs, high lows are, and how they usually work, I would expect always for it to come back down to the extreme, right? It can definitely go for something in the middle, a pause, a range, whatever it is, but whenever an area is left unmitigated, it's likely to be mitigated later, not to work out again, right? I'm not saying that from that point price will just blow up again. It could definitely just be an area of demand that causes a reaction that then fills a hole, and we got a risk entry here, and potentially then the next the CE, right? So based on order flow, we also see that on the order flow itself, price here made an impulse and came back down to the extreme, right? So already that shows that the order flow or the continuations are happening on the extreme, right? And not only that, but our risk entry is this. We can't go for this and think that this is our CE, nor this, right? This was the CE to this risk entry, right? And this right here was the CE to this risk entry, right? So risk entries and CEs go along each other, right? They walk next to each other. So if my risk entry is here, the order block or the area, the range, the pause, whatever happened on that reaction, which in this case was a range, which in the 5 minute looks really clean, which is the reason why I chose that order block, right? This last order block before the bullish move. Whatever that reason was is where the CE will occur, right? Whether it works, where it doesn't, that's where the CE is. In this case, this CE caused the break of minor highs, right? And then, well, the whole movement that led to this area of demand being broken, this area of supply, being broken. And, well, price came back down and the mitigation, well, the continuation on that CE worked out quite well, right? Now, to be fair, I set myself, well, it's not that I set myself that target, but basically I said, so if I get 3% today, I'm going to be happy. I got 1% yesterday because I mismanaged a trade and took a couple of stupid losses, and I wanted to avoid that today, and I ended up doing that. So I think that what I showed here today is not only the way that I trade, but also the way that you should handle your own strategy, and it's just follow it, right? If you don't have a CE, or if just because your trading plan says that you can't go against a POI, against a supply POI if you're trying to buy, then just don't do it, because those rules were created at a point where you realized that it doesn't work out as usual. It doesn't work out as well as it does whenever you basically trade, as an example, not going against the POI and going pro that POI, right? Going in the direction of that POI. So that's the reason why I didn't go for this, right? In my plan, if it still respected the previous order block POI, which is not something that I have written, but something that I do because, as I said earlier, I've seen so many trades. As an example, let's say this was a trade where I placed my stop loss above this high. Price can easily get up to this, still respect that POI and fall, which in some cases I've even thought about putting my stop loss above the previous POI, but in some cases it's a few pips or a few ticks, such as in this one, right, which is not that large, but in others it's crazy the amount of pips, or well, yeah, pips that you would actually need, right? So to draw the conclusion, it's all about being patient, right? It's all about being patient. I've come to realize that taking risk entries, even though they look good, even though they have maybe 10,000 confluences, they're not necessarily going to work. But waiting for that extra confirmation, basically the confirmation entry, as I said, can make you miss out on trades, because as an example, price didn't have to come back down to this. It didn't at all. In this case it did, because it made sense with the order flow and it had some confluences as well, but it didn't have to. It could have just retraced to this and then continue to go higher. It didn't really need to get down there, and whenever I place a trade, I don't really expect price to get down there. I mean, I do expect price to get down there, but I know that it doesn't have the need to get down there before continuing with the move. So as an example, this move could have happened like this, just continues to go higher for 3 days in a row, and then some time, maybe in a couple of weeks or maybe months or maybe a year from now, price will come back down to this, and as it is a very significant area at that point, maybe it causes a reaction, but then it's just a retracement, right? It's like maybe this to the left, well, no, not that, but maybe this to the left is a reaction to an area like this, which just didn't happen in its time, and well, now it doesn't really cause much of a reaction because it's not really important for price now, right? So that's why at the same time I only use areas that are close to price action, to the current price action, right? Because having a lot of far away areas, I don't know, I just don't really find much need to have them, right? As an example, 4 hours, sure, but if I 4 hour, like as an example, I wouldn't draw a 1 minute within a 4 hour, right? That is an example of 4 hour with a 1 minute within this, right? Because in my opinion, it could work out, definitely. It could cause somewhat of a reaction, but I prefer to just have the 4 hour order block and know that it could definitely cause somewhat of a reaction due to the 4 hour order block, but probably not just for that 1 minute candle, right? So that's why I usually stick to current price action and nothing more than that. So pretty good trade, pretty happy about it. So I hope you take something away from this. I hope that it helps anyone, right? As I usually hope. And well, you know that you can contact me through Telegram. You can't through Instagram because I don't have Instagram anymore. I've uninstalled it. I will install it in the future, but it's really been life-changing to not have social media on the phone. Honestly, it takes a lot of time from you, and sometimes you can be there watching other people's trade, and let's suppose that you didn't catch anything, and there are maybe 20 guys that caught 20R each, you know, and that's that. It's not that you're jealous or anything. It just makes you feel weird. What am I doing wrong? Stuff like that, and you start to question yourself when you probably shouldn't. You you have a trading plan. You have a path to follow, and that doesn't mean that everyone else's path can affect yours or should make you think about yours, right? So yeah, I will probably, it's likely that we might see this working out. I don't remember what the other area is, but it was a 17 point something, so I'll call it 17. This might work out, right? And we can even see here that this is a risk entry and CE. That's working out for now, but not something that I would like to take. But yeah, hope you took something away from it. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll be seeing you tomorrow.